Oh, here we are.
We're in Venice on a layover to see my family in Mexico.
I've been to LA like 2 times.
I'm kind of from here, as much as I am from Mexico anyway. I love Venice. It makes me, you know what I was thinking about? I was describing Harry Perry to you, this guitarist on rollerblades that for decades just strolled up and down
Yeah.
the beach. I think when I was 12 and started coming here, my dad brought me once, and later I asked to come every year for my birthday. I think starting when I was 14. So where I became vegetarian is on the boardwalk. I just realized this morning, I think the reason I really love this place is because it's the first place where I saw in the US. In Mexico, I got to stay with my mom's friends, but in the US, it was the first place I saw that was like people prioritizing a full creative life versus belongings and a fancy house.
That's true.
Because some people just lived kind of almost literally on the beach.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of like artists that maybe live on the beach and sell their work on the boardwalk.
Yeah. Harry Perry, I'm really sure, didn't have a 9 to 5. That was his mission in life, was to go up and down the boardwalk on his electric guitar. He delivered on that mission, I think, for at least a few decades. Thank you. Is that oat milk?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes, thank you. It's hot.
You do first.
Okay.
I'll take
This is the most beautiful little oat milk pitcher I've ever seen.
This is great.
Oh, the sun on my face, around the big tree.
Yeah, I think it would have been nice for me to have seen that when I was young
Yeah, just
and not just like have to imagine it. No, there was our way of doing it.
in Virginia.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Well, there were people like musicians, particularly. I don't know of any artists, like visual artists doing. I never saw anything crazy like that.
I did.
Wow, nice. Paloma did a spiral of oat milk in my coffee. But there was definitely like a faction of musicians that understood their true goal and purpose. I think that's been like a tradition up there.
Musicians, yeah. So, yeah, a toast to this place. A toast to all the places that show little kids, and all the people that show little kids that it's possible to
I think
daydream about a creative life as the first and second and third priority versus sneaking that in all the time as the only quote unquote realistic version of life.
yeah, I really like that there are places like kind of holding the line basically against the onslaught of like
Commercials.
yeah, just like I'm not even sure what to call that. This kinds of demands that people make on your own life. I don't even know what to call it, but
It's in the water.
I mean, Portland's like that too.
In what way?
Like, there's a lot more respect given to people that like just don't give a shit about you know, doing, I don't know what to call it, doing the normal thing.
Doing the normie life, commercially.
I think Portland takes a little bit of pride in holding the line.
Yeah, it was helpful. I mean, yeah, there's a reason we each landed there on our own. You must have felt that
Yeah.
acceptance. Um, so the game plan today is we have to go back to pack, maybe mini shower at 8:30.
Mm-hmm.
It's an 8-minute walk back.
Okay.
We check out, get a Lyft drive at 9 o'clock to LAX.
It's got a leaf blower.
I think you know that leaf blowers are one of the saddest things to me in this modern world. Every time I hear one, I get really sad.
There's got to be some reason for them.
I get so sad.
Yeah.
I've heard that soon no small petroleum engines
Yeah.
will be allowed in California. They're
Oh,
they're
okay.
illegal.
Yeah, I read that
Including leaf
somewhere.
blowers,
I thought
electric ones.
people were making fun of that. But I don't know.
Horrible.
I kind of like seeing things like that. It's pretty funny.
You like seeing the daily brutalities of this modern world, and that's definitely a daily brutality.
No, I hate leaf blowers also. I like that they are banning.
Oh.
They're banning them. Like,
So
enough of this.
legislators are taking a hard line against
yeah. I'm with you. It's like,
daily brutality of leaf blowers.
take your cute fun walkway and turn it into a like Target looking ass walkway with this leaf blower.
Terrorize all the dogs, cats, and neighbors.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Whatever. We've all got different tastes.
We've also got a cool dumpster.
People would make fun of me because
Getting-
they'd be like, "You just want to live in a chill beats YouTube 10-hour playlist." That's what they'd say to me. Oh yeah, we got the garbage truck.
We got a dumpster, little dumpster guy. Do you see how just the whole machine just lifts this humongous dumpster?
Yeah,
Too?
these things are pretty amazing.
That's a cool machine. And then just folds up.
I thought about being a garbage man. That was a topic of discussion before we met.
Oh, before we met.
That's also another like very necessary
It's a beautiful job.
underappreciated job that like literally everybody in the city needs, and the hours are pretty bad.
Hours are bad?
I think you gotta wake up really early.
Oh, that's the opposite of you, though. That's not a night shift.
That's
an early
not a
morning
night shift. Yeah.
Your brain might rebel against a 4 a.m. wake up.
Yes, I don't like that so much.
But yeah, it's a really beautiful job. And you get to see the city in such an interesting way, I bet. Okay. That hour. You do like that hour, though, like the 5 a.m., 6 a.m. hour of the city.
Yeah.
You just have to stay awake for another 8 hours after that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we get to the LAX hopefully by 9:30. Should be fine, very doable. And then we've got a 2-hour window buffer till our flight leaves. And that is a direct flight to Vallarta. And then we have 2 choices. And if you want, I can just make it for us. Which is we can take a local city bus from the airport to the little town.
Mm-hmm.
It's about an hour plus bus ride.
Yeah.
But then you get to just like kick off hour 1 of your first experience of Mexico, like a true local.
Yeah. That's pretty appealing.
But we'll have our rolly bags.
Yeah. It's not ideal.
But once you get on it, I think you're just on it all the way to the beach town.
It's probably pretty typical also for people to be doing that with rolly bags.
For sure.
It's like whatever.
It-
Or so what's the alternative?
Or we get a taxi at the airport, a
Okay.
local taxi. There's just a little bit there, but then he's gonna want to talk the whole time. They talk.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
taxi drivers in Mexico talk.
There's no
No,
what's the button?
quiet mode.
Quiet mode. Is that really what the button is?
It's called quiet.
It's just called quiet. It's not called quiet mode.
I think it's. Oh no, it says quiet ride.
Okay, that's a little better. Quiet mode sounds bad because it's like, let me turn this driver on quiet mode.
He's just a
Can you-
robot to me.
Can you like
Hold this
switch
way.
on to quiet mode for me? I've never really wanted to chat. Yeah. Okay.
And they'll be chatting obviously in Spanish. So
I'm gonna-
I think if we're up for it from like a
I'll
energy perspective,
yeah.
the bus ride is. I just love just like sinking in right away
Yeah, I'm with you.
to real life.
I'll do whatever you like want to do because I'm up for either, and I will get a lot out of both. So I'm like,
Great.
yeah,
Oh, so it's an hour. I mean, if it's like a 45-minute taxi ride, so it's a long time in a car with a stranger talking Spanish quickly too.
yeah.
It might be exhausting. I think so. We'll do the bus ride. We'll sink into it. It's my first time doing it, but I've gotten all the directions.
You
and
can also
I'm a Spanish speaker.
you can read and speak to people, which is critical.
Es cierto.
See,
Okay, so then, yeah, I can find my way around. Fine. It's my first time taking that particular bus. Okay, so so then as soon as we get to the airport, we're going to go straight to the ATM and get pesos, so that because the bus will only take pesos,
okay,
and that's it. And then we'll go all the way to the beach town and find our place. And check in, drop off our bags, check out this town I've never been to.
okay,
We're staying the night there. It's kind of like our chance to just
Yeah.
sink into Mexico together before we meet up with my family the next day.
When are we leaving the next day?
Checkout is like a 10 or 11, but they'll hold our bags. So if we're like, we really like, this is Sayulita, we really like Sayulita, we want to chill here more, we can chill there as long as we want. And then
We kind of might need to because it's gonna maybe be dark when we're checked in finally.
yes, sunset is at 6:30.
Yeah,
So we'll be getting it close to sunset.
everything just takes forever.
Everything takes forever.
Like,
And it's chill way once we get there. It's just gonna be like doom, 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 doom. You know.
yeah. So I would be up for.
Well, the nice thing is we can just call it because I don't even know what time my family's flying in
Yeah.
from Guadalajara tomorrow.
Okay.
So, but I can message them, and I think it's about a same kind of an hour or 40-minute bus ride to.
Oh, that's not bad at all. It's like right down the street. 40 minutes?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, from then Sayulita to the hotel we're meeting my family. So, and that we can also do if you want in a taxi. Uber and Lyft. Lyft doesn't exist in Mexico. Uber does, but it's really weird. It's like the taxi driver union has like
Okay.
Uber drivers on their hit list. Not totally joking.
Not totally metaphorical.
No, I've spoken to Uber
That's
drivers in
fucking
Mexico who are like, please, when you have to enter, one of your party has to sit in the front. Otherwise, I will be beat up after this if the taxi driver sees
Oh, I
people
see.
in my backseat.
It's got to be like
Literally
you're
beat up.
just driving friends around.
Yeah, you're just picking your family up.
Wow.
So it's still really sketchy for Uber drivers there, and Lyft doesn't exist. And so I just kind of like now don't, unless in Guadalajara where I just know my way around more. In other cities, I just stick to taxi drivers because I don't want to get anyone beat up.
That's fair.
I mean, again, their choice, but it's pretty interesting. So we just do taxis, and they're they're affordable. So yeah, whenever we want, we'll head over to the resort We can also head over, if it's before check-in, we just drop off. Same thing, drop off our bags. And then they just let you walk around the resort once you're there.
Yeah.
And then whenever we want, we can head over to the little grocery store and pick up stuff for. I think we should check out the buffet first before we know what to bring. As far as like making sure we're getting our vegan protein in.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
We haven't talked about the fact that we don't really mention that we're vegan, but
yeah.
that this is my first time being vegan at this kind of resort with my family. They're not vegan.
And yeah, like an all-inclusive definitely gives me concern about hearing something like that gives me concern about whether there's going to be anything for me to eat. So actually there was one tip that we read about calling ahead and asking for like the vegan menu, which I forgot about.
We can do that today while we're hanging out for 2 hours at LAX. I can email them.
Maybe somebody there will scramble to throw together.
Well, the thing that I will say as many times as you need me to is that this is the land where all of our produce comes from. And so there is a lot of the variety of fruits and vegetables available at these, in Mexico is pretty astronomically different than in the U.S.
No,
and they lean into it because it's
Sure.
it's a tropical place. And
I just I don't doubt that that's the case. I just hear it like if I went to an all-inclusive somewhere in the United States, I would assume it was going to be a problem.
yeah.
Just like being on a cruise is a little bit of a problem.
Yes, but it's because the U.S. overvalues meat and cheese.
Sure.
That Germanic background, maybe. And in Mexico, there's a strong, long tradition of vegetarian diets as actually the default because meat and dairy are very expensive. So actually a lot of the dishes that I grew up with are just naturally vegetarian, vegan. They do usually sprinkle some cheese on top, but that's easy. Anyway, okay, so we're going to see.
I'm feeling optimistic at this point anyway. I've already huffed and puffed about
You had
this trip.
You had your moment about complaining.
Now the ball's rolling and I'm like, whatever.
We'll report back and see.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It'll be fine. If I'll just eat like tons of bananas and peanut butter, worst case. If bananas are my carbs, that will be an interesting experiment.
Yeah, no, there's many other. The fruit bar at the buffet is pretty, usually pretty impressive.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah. Okay, so that's today. I think that's.
Yeah, we got a long flight. I've downloaded my fights that I will
UFC
be
fight?
watching in between reading about sensory experience of animals.
Yeah, what's that book
I
called?
keep forgetting. It's like Vast Universe or something.
Immense Universe.
Immense Universe.
Something like that. I'm reading, also can't remember the name of the book, a book by Starhawk, which I've had for a while. I found it at some free little library in Portland a while back, and I was like, oh, I've heard this person's importance to understand or know about historically. And I just, every time I tried picking it up in the past, I was like, ugh, can't. And this time I'm like, did you see how much I was underlining it? I was like, I underline my books. What?
I'm in favor of, or I'm a fan of you going deep witch route here.
Deep witch. It's also its own genre of, it's like vaporwave.
Deep witch.
Deep witch.
That's actually pretty good.
What have you been listening to? A lot of deep witch.
It might be. It would be like
Back to back with vaporwave.
deep witch is a little bit of a new thing. Something to mention.
Maybe that's our reggaeton genre.
You were telling me, dark reggaeton / deep witch. I would listen to that. So you were telling me, you were like sharing something with me, and I was like, oh, it's like Nietzsche. I
Yeah.
just feel self-conscious about that. It's like,
You just dropped some Nietzsche on me.
well, no, it was just like, oh, that's typical. You just like, I don't even know if I let you finish your thought before I was like, oh yeah, it's like Nietzsche. It's it's like his morality thing. I don't know. So I just feel self-conscious and stupid.
That was a really good example of a Mexican style of engagement. So I don't even notice it.
Oh, okay.
Negating is where it's not cool. Like had you, because also I liked how cool we looked in that moment. That I was like, I'm going to quote some Starhawk to you, and you were like, cool. I'm going to quote some Nietzsche back to you as a validating affirmative response that I understand what you're talking about. How cool did we sound in that moment? So cool.
Yeah, I helped all those people on the plane. We're admiring
I think they were
that little conversation.
absolutely admiring us on the plane. Yeah, had I been like, hey, can I read this Starhawk quote to you? And you'd been like, well, I kind of prefer more of Nietzsche's approach.
Right. Let me stop
with that tone.
Let me stop you right there. She stole that from Nietzsche.
Yeah, that would have been not cool. But if you had said the exact thing with a different tone, like, oh, I kind of think I prefer Nietzsche's thing of this or that, which you didn't, by the way. But even that would have been still kind of like engaged, like, ooh, yes, and what about this thought? Meaning, I think when it's hard is when I'm talking to you and you're staring into some abyss dimension that is not here with me. Your eyes go somewhere.
I do.
Which you do. And
A lot, maybe.
And, but I now know to just like wait a second and see if you come back to me. And now I know that often you'll be like staring into the abyss while I'm being like, hey, can I tell you this cool thing I just learned? And you'll be staring into this other dimension. And I'll wait 1-2 seconds. And then you lock eyes with me again and say, yeah, I fucking love that. Or something. And I'm like, okay. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I know it's your way of thinking.
You picked up on my micro way of living with reality, I guess. So you've made micro adjustments to speak to me.
Yeah, I just wait the 2 seconds.
It's pretty funny.
For like, I figure your brain's like processing.
I think it's just, it'll run off for a little bit. It's like, hold on, we need to take care of this like thought. And then before we return, it's like it prioritizes something that's not happening in the room real quick. It's pretty annoying. I really feel I've taken a lot of shit for that since I was like a kid over the years.
It is an unspoken rule that you are not allowed to look that way when someone's talking to you.
Right, yeah, I've definitely...
to like have a blank stare in your eye.
I've taken a lot of shit.
Hold this for a second, bro.
I don't know. It's like, maybe I can control it. I definitely didn't put in the work to like keep that thing from happening over the years. I just like let it go. So
when people gave you shit about it in the past, did it make you a little bit like almost like defensive and be like, look, this is how I am? And like in your mind and be like, look, this is how I am.
Yeah.
This is how my brain works.
Yeah, exactly. I was less inclined to be like, oh, I should learn this like social habit to interact with people, and more like, look, there's not, this is it. I think this way. And so I don't know what's the better road there, but
should we walk?
Yeah, we gotta walk.
We're done with coffee, so we leave it here. We don't want you to bus.
Should we pause or?
Let's walk a little.
All right.
Let's try it.
Let's try it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I'll take it for a second. Yeah, I think one of the theories I have about humans is that village living where you have, you know, in your daily life, you're not interacting or running into anyone outside of like a 100 person ish, you know, 100 person number of the same people. It's like you're 100 people, you're 100 to 200 max people. It's like, that's village life. And for the most part, that's, that there's all these ways that for millennia, that was how our brains and bodies evolved. And that, so things that we now call not okay or like weird or like hard to deal with each other. For example, that someone has a blank stare when you're talking to them. My theory is that they're not an issue in village life because like someone would have grown up with you and built this trust with you and this understanding across time and would have realized that like, you know, would have had like asked you about it and you could have been like, I'm still listening, you know? And everyone would just be like, okay, yeah, so now, and so you wouldn't have all these, I don't know, we would be able to accept each other's way of being, because we just had a chance across time to build trust through it regardless.
Yeah.
And so in the way that with you, like I already felt a lot of like mutual admiration and trust together, you know, between us two, so that when you went and stared off, I had two options. I could be like, oh my God, I'm so insulted. I must be boring him. Or like, oh my God, he's being so rude. He's supposed to be staring at me back or something. Instead, I could just be like, well, you know, Derek likes talking to me. Right now, he looks like he's in another dimension. I'll just check in with him. I think I've asked you once, like, oh, no, am I boring you? You were like, no. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's never occurred to me that I'm like bored with the conversation. I typically don't realize that I'm staring off. I mean, I never do. I don't think I've ever like noticed that's happening. I guess that's how that works. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I have tried to work on it and it's just been hopeless. But yeah, I remember teachers not liking that either. Like coaches, just nobody. Understandably.
Well, but if they knew you since they were a baby, like you're a baby, right? And like, I feel like it's the constant like ripping apart of relationships and having to start over every few years, which school is totally, for most of us, about, right? Like you get a teacher for what, a year? A coach for maybe 2 years? And then like you may never see them again.
Yeah, kind of like would make sense that in an environment like that, we have to sort of try to homogenize our like communication styles so that we can carry on efficiently.
Right. Versus like letting each other be having the little weirdy ways of being that each of us have. And realizing we can adjust because there's only 100, 200 max, you know, of us to adjust to, which is, that was a very loud motorcycle. We're walking now. We're walking back in the sun. Yeah, like that's actually quite biologically and psychologically really doable for us to this is kind of a funny tangent, but you know how like on, I don't know if this is true for all basketball teams, but like basketball team members, like in, I don't know, NBA, I guess, they have each of them has a handshake for each of their team members that's unique.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember learning that and watching it in some video, like, right, that like the way they greet each other, they each two people have a unique handshake on that team. So you never Anyway, and in my mind, I was like, how do they remember them? And then later, I was reading about something around like, village neuropsychology stuff. And I was like, oh, like, I think we could probably, it's kind of, right? Like, they are this tiny village where like every day they're just interacting and working with each other so much.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, that's probably easy for their brains because we have this, psychologists believe it's about a max of 100 people that we can deeply understand and maintain in our minds.
That's a lot of people.
That sounds like a lot,
It does sound like a lot.
but I think most of us could it's just most of us don't. I mean, we don't grow up like that. Anyway, that's a very weird aside to say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like it. You'd have a different communication style with each person in your village that was like sort of unique.
Because it could be built across time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But instead, we have to like converge on recognizable communication styles,
Yeah, almost like
which stresses a lot of us out, I think.
the common denominator, like the most
Yeah.
common denominator. It's like you have to stick with it.
Yeah. Whatever.
I also an aside, Starhawk. Can I bring Starhawk?
Yeah. Let's keep bringing Starhawk in more over time.
I don't know the pronoun she. They mentioned that there's all these historians that kind of mark the beginning of codifying grammar rules at the same time as enclosure was occurring. Enclosure was when they privatized common lands in Europe. And so which took away the self-sufficiency of villages because they no longer could use common lands to hunt and to fish and to grow, to get medicinal herbs, stuff like that. And this was the same time as, hey, good morning. This was the same time as, oh wait, I have to go slow. I hurt my knee. It's probably fine. I'm just being.
It's probably not. In fact, I'm certain it's not fine.
Okay, but it feels fun. But yes, I'm being thorough and not Like, I already started switching to Spanish. I was going to say, re-lastimándome. I just Spanglished that shit. Re-lastimándome. Lastimar is hurt, damage.
See.
And so, just to close that thought, fascinating to think that that at the same time as there was privatizing common lands, i.e. taking away self-sufficiency from villages, they were also codifying grammar rules for the first time ever so that they could say, you don't speak proper.
Right.
Over here, and so we're going to call you inferior because you're not educated to speak proper. Whereas before, there was no grammar rules that said this is the right way to speak and this is not, as long as people understood each other. Which is when you talk to me in Spanish and you're like beat yourself up because you're not getting the grammar right, like you're not getting the right verb tense or whatever.
Yeah.
This part of me keeps wanting to be like, nobody cares because they got the gist.
Mm-hmm.
And I never found a way to convey why it bothers me that when someone's learning a language, I have the same thing. We beat ourselves up so much about the details. And there was something about her mentioning that, and that was essentially one of the ways that they continued finding ways to degrade people to keep them feeling like idiots. We found lots of ways all at once. So anyway, it's yeah, talk however you want, because turns out for millennia there was no rules for what was considered bad talking. Anyway, all right, we're here at the hotel. Look at how on time we are. Should we pause?
Yeah.
All right. See you on the other side, y'all.